All right, I'd like to welcome everybody to the first meeting of 2022 for the Metropolitan School District of North Posey. And we will open the meeting by joining me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I think we're going out of order.
Yeah, Mr. President, first of all, we're going to read our vision and our mission this evening and our core beliefs and high priorities. Our vision is we inspire all students to achieve their potential for learning and life in a safe and supportive environment. Our mission is we partner with our community to create a dynamic and innovative educational experience, empowering students to become educated, productive, and responsible citizens. Our core beliefs are we believe our community is vital to our educational success. Everyone is valued and treated with respect, and always telling the truth, an educational opportunity for all, student-centered programs, challenging and inspiring learning, in the pursuit of excellence through a strong sense of pride. And our high priorities are enhancing the student experience, investing in teachers and administrators, fostering strong relationships among all, and maximizing our resources. To begin this evening, we would like to kind of following along the line of enhancing the student experience. For many years, our Spellbow teams have been a part of our heritage here at North Posey, and I know even my wife took a state team back when she was coaching in junior high. So tonight, though, this is kind of an unusual situation. In fact, I think we were discussing, I don't think we've ever had the same school both when the junior high and the senior high. So North Posey this evening, you guys got to come up here so you can be on the camera. All right? So come all the way up here to the front. So, and our coaches as well. We got our coaches here too. Come on up. So we have both teams with us this evening. And like I said, both teams won state competition back in November. But unfortunately, we tried to recognize them at the December board meeting, but a lot of these kids were busy with Christmas concerts and those things that evening. So coaches, you want to say anything? Or kids, you want to say anything?
Obviously, we're very proud of our kiddos. We had, I have my two individual people here who got a perfect score area. So then they got to compete in a separate, individual state competition. So they had to spell all 72 words, and Audrey and Caitlin stepped forward. They both got a perfect score. So they both. Wow. But all these kiddos just did awesome. We're so proud.
Now, I do want to say that we had a PD day, and Kelly here was kind of trash talking one of the other schools. And I know. So anyway, and it was really interesting. You kind of crushed that other team.
We did.
Yeah. They were close, but then at state, you just kind of left them in your dirt.
Yeah, they were not. They were close. But
So anyway,
yeah.
So you're trash talking well. Ms. Cox, you got anything you want to say about the high school?
I'm just very proud of them. I've coached them. What is this, my 5th or 6th year? Addie's my 4-year senior member this year, so I'm very sad to see her go. I'm very proud of them. They always work hard. We won by 1 point this year.
Oh my.
So it was it was stressful. It was a nail biter. There were tears, but we won. Very proud of them.
Congratulations.
Introduce them all.
Yes.
Okay. So this is Aiden McMunn, Caitlin Seibert, Audrey Fisher, and Maya Mock, and those are the 4 here from my junior high team.
I have one here tonight, and that's Addie Linkfelter, my senior.
Yeah.
4-year senior.
So Aiden, what was the best thing that you experienced during the whole thing?
I think the trip up to state. It was a lot of fun.
Where was state at?
In Purdue.
I can't imagine Purdue being a fun trip. Whatever. How about you, Addie? What was your favorite thing about the competition?
Studying the night before with the whole team in one room, eating pizza, and using our whiteboards that we lug around with us the entire trip. It's
So
kind of
did you guys go up the night before?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. And that was in Indy as well? Or Purdue?
Yeah.
Purdue, same place?
Mhm.
Very nice. Well, we're super proud of all of you guys. That's outstanding. So I think that you guys got back that was a basketball game. wasn't it?
Viking Madness, yes.
Viking
So
Madness, that you guys got
I
back.
got back from state for Purdue and I
Yeah.
stayed for cheer for Viking Madness.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. They had all the kids out there on the floor.
Oh,
We
yeah.
had them right when we got back.
Yeah, that's very neat.
Raven.
Well, awesome. I'm super proud of you guys. Good job.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Good job. Good job.
And you're more than welcome to stay because this is such an exciting meeting, but if you want to go, you're feel free to go.
Thank you for the honor. I don't know.
Not as good for you, but.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
You guys have done. Look both ways.
All right, we're gonna get back on the normal agenda. All right, our first item on the agenda is patrons' concern. We'll let it be marked that there are none signed up for patrons' concern. And then our next item up is our oath of offices and reorganization. Mr. Galvin or Mr. Orm?
Mr. Orem,
Orm's
all
gonna
right,
take over
take
that.
charge of this meeting.
Okay, well, with that, it will do the reorganization, and with the first step of that, I'll open up the floor for nominations for the office of the president of the school board.
I'll nominate Jeff Gentile, current president of the school board.
And any seconds?
I'll second that.
All right. So those in favor for Jeff Gentile being elected as the president of the school board, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. All right, with that, Mr. Gentile is unanimously elected as the president of the school board.
Thank you very much.
And with that completed, we'll open the floor for nominations for the office of vice president of the school board.
I nominate Greg Schmidt.
Any seconds?
I'll second.
Okay. And with the second being made, I will open the floor for, we'll open it for vote. So those in favor of Greg Schmidt being the vice president of the school board, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. And Mr. Schmidt is unanimously elected. Then I'll open the floor for nominations for the office of secretary of the school board.
And
Say if anybody else wants.
I nominate
Keep that
Amy
for
Will
a
for secretary.
All right.
I'll second that.
Okay.
You
so-
should see how they all sweat, Amy, when you're not here.
I feel like it's that game where it's like, not it.
All right, so with that, those in favor of Amy Will being the secretary of the school board, say aye.
Aye.
All right, those opposed, same sign. All right, with that, Amy is unanimously elected. And then I would open the floor for the appointment of a treasurer and let's start with treasurer for the school district.
We can do them both at the same
I'll do them
time.
both. Okay, I'll open them up both. So we'll need a treasurer and a deputy treasurer.
I'll nominate Carol Lupfer as the treasurer and Lori Lincolnfelder as the deputy treasurer.
And do we have any second?
I'll second that.
And with that, I would open this for a vote. Those in favor of Carol Lupfer as the district treasurer and Lori Lingenfelter as the district deputy treasurer, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. All right, and both are unanimously elected. At this point, I would turn the meeting over to our newly re-elected board president, Jeff Gentile.
Thank you very much, Josh. So none of us need to do the oath since we've already all done the oath previously, correct? All right. So we need to reappoint a school board attorney for the following year, so we'll entertain motion for that.
I'll make a motion to appoint Josh Orm, school board attorney.
Second,
I'll second that.
so the motion by Mr. Oakley and seconded by Mr. Colley to reappoint Josh Orm as the school board attorney. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. You are unanimously reappointed. Thank you, sir. We also need to nominate members of the Board of Finance. I can't even remember who's on that. Who
You
was
see
the
down there in
previous-
red,
red.
it's in red down there.
Oh, okay.
You were and Larry was.
Any opposition to making a motion to retain those as is?
I'll make a motion that we retain them.
Second,
I'll second.
so the motion by Mr. Schmidt and seconded by Mrs. Will to retain President of the Board of Finance as myself and Treasurer of the Board of Finance as being Larry Colley. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries. We also need a policy liaison and legislative liaison.
Currently, that's Amy and Vince.
All right, so our current policy liaison is Amy and Vince is our legislative liaison. Entertain a motion to retain that as is.
I'll make that motion. We retain our policy and legislative liaisons.
All right, second.
I'll second that.
So a motion by Mr. Collins, seconded by Mr. Schmidt to retain Amy as the policy liaison and Vince as the legislative liaison. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Mr. Gallo.
This evening, we need to examine our compensation wages for the board. Previously, the board has received a $2,000 annual stipend and $100 per meeting for 12 meetings for a maximum salary of $3,200 per member for a calendar year of service. So we bring forward that recommendation again this evening. Or you may change that.
I see no reason to change. Does anybody else?
Mhm.
I'll make a motion to, or entertain a motion to retain that.
I'll make a motion to retain the compensation package.
Second.
I'll second that.
So a motion by Mr. Oakley and seconded by Mr. Schmidt to retain the compensation package as is at $3,200 for the calendar year. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
Next up this evening, I passed out the conflict of interest statements. I had one, as well as Jeff Gentile, Mr. Colley did, and Vince Oakley. So make sure that those get signed and get back to Amy before we leave this evening. So I think we're ready for the minutes, claim docket, and consent items, Mr. President.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Is it you or that Amy?
I don't know, I thought it was that Amy.
Is it
I
Amy?
think Amy
Votes.
Okay.
Okay.
I started to pass it back, but she wasn't there.
I thought it was you.
Oh, okay.
All right, so our next item is to approve the minutes and claim docket consent items. We previously distributed everybody for the December 14th meeting. I'm going to entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent items.
Second.
One second.
So a motion by Mr. Oakley, seconded by Mrs. Will to approve the minutes, claim docket, consent items. Any comments or questions?
So this evening, I wanted to bring out a couple of things on the consent agenda items. As you probably remember, we have been part of this S-Craft. This is a consortium of school districts across the state of Indiana for our property, casualty, workman's comp insurance. In the past, the cyber liability has been part of our policy. This year, they pulled that out. As you're aware, and you've probably seen in the news, there have been several cyber attacks across the nation, and this has actually become a larger issue. We actually had to put some things in place with our technology department to kind of make sure that we got the best quote that we could possibly get. So, so this is now an outside policy from the workman's comp, and that's really a pretty good rate. We looked at several different things across. They brought up different information across the states. There's only about 2 or 3 companies actually that have cyber liability, but there's been districts. I know Plainfield happened several years ago where their system got hacked and they were holding their student data for ransom, and that's really what this does. This protects us against that. And I know, I want to say it was one day last year that Jake said, right around election time, January 6th, I think we got hit. Our walls, I can't think of what they're called right now. Firewalls. Thank you. Firewalls got hit about 1,200 times within a day. And so I mean, they're constantly, sending phishing emails and things like that into it. So just kind of want to make you aware that our property casualty insurance increased about $12,231.69. We're in an area, as you guys know, that has been hit hard for the past few years because of tornadoes and things like that. So that does definitely impact our rates this year. So on that. The other thing I also want, if you don't have any questions on that, I'm more than happy to answer those. But also I wanted to point out Mr. Fisher is with us this evening on the Camp Carson, and I'm going to ask him to kind of explain that a little bit more just for your information. So
sure. In the packet, I've got the letter there that kind of describes the trip and a sample of what the itinerary for one of the days of activities could be. There are still a few things detail-wise that we need to work out on this, but we did want to get this in front of you so we can start communicating this, with students and the rest of the staff. Really just trying to do some things. This originally started about a year, probably a year ago, maybe even a little bit more than that, with the intention of incentivizing some of our kids in athletics that have worked really hard in strength conditioning and some other things that we've asked those kids to do. And then after some talks with Mr. Shank, thought about kind of opening this up to, kids that, perform or compete in some capacity through various school clubs, ECAs, extracurricular clubs. And that's going to require us to go through and still kind of nail down exactly what those are going to be and what they're not going to be. That's something that needs to happen. We obviously need to draft a permission slip, try to get that built the way it needs to be built and get it communicated to kids and ask for those back in a manner that will allow us to plan for this trip. This is a pretty, it's a pretty big, it's a pretty big incentive. It's pretty significant. The cost, we obviously saw the cost in there was going to be approximately $75 per student. But I think it's got the ability to do some really great things in terms of incentivizing these kids. It doesn't use that much instructional time. I think we're talking about dismissing at 12:30 on a Friday, using corporation transportation, and then parents will be responsible for the return trip home from up in Gibson County. So just trying to reward our students that are doing things the right way, and do that across more, reach out beyond athletics to do that, and then get those kids to enjoy themselves doing something side by side. I think something, whenever you talk to students who have come to us from other areas, not trying to say anything bad about any other areas, the climate at North Posey has been one where, you don't necessarily have to be friends with somebody, but we want to create an environment where we enjoy each other's company regardless of what, who our friends are. And I think we've been welcoming in that way. And I think this is another way for us to reinforce that and develop and build upon that.
any questions for Mr. Fisher?
How long does this last? I mean, is it?
It's Friday, it'd be Friday afternoon, I believe, May 20th through Sunday morning.
Okay.
I think they return, I think we're going to come about 10:30 or 11. And I don't like using Sunday morning, but it really was just with the intention of getting camp cleaned up, getting everything like it needs to be before we leave.
So are we the only ones there during that time?
We are. We have that reserved for just us for that period of time. That is correct. That itinerary that's in there is a sample. We talked about, that was a little bit more focused. Some of the things that are in there, I don't even understand what they are. There's some type of game or activity that's at the camp. Our kids in the past have enjoyed some of the things that we put together with some biking days, with some 3-on-3 basketball tournament, or we've had a chess tournament. We've had different things. We may stitch some of those things that our kids have enjoyed into that aren't necessarily camp activities. I know that, I don't know if it's in there. I mean, we've talked about it full on that Saturday evening, which is the day we're there for the full day, doing like a luau type dinner. A live band has already been booked. Trying to get, hopefully we're going to obviously need chaperones for cabins because of that situation. There has to be a chaperone in every cabin. Cell phones are not allowed. Believe it or not, cell phones are not allowed at Camp Carson. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I just think there's a lot of good potential here. Like I said, it's outside the box. It's a little bit above and beyond, but I think we found that it's been worth taking some of that risk and trying to do things the right way to try to provide opportunities for our kids that are above and beyond.
Will there be fundraising opportunities for kids or like scholarship options?
Yeah, we'll obviously take a look at that situation. We've talked about, after we get the permission slips established, allowing some of those kids to pay weekly. We've also talked about, figuring out ways to subsidize the payment in situations. We have the means of doing that. We've already had some people communicate with us that they'd be willing to sponsor campers, or sponsorships in some way. I'm not too concerned about that. I feel pretty good about that.
Would they have to qualify for this, or do they disqualify themselves?
Well, they'll be qualified. If you look, the citizenship policy is the way in which they, I think I used the word qualification in there. I copied the citizenship policy from our student handbook that's there. I'm glad you asked that, because I did make a couple of adjustments to it for this semester. Because our citizenship policy is based upon some criteria for the entire year, we have lowered the allowable referrals to 3 from 5, because we're only counting for this semester. So instead of 5 for the whole year, we're 3 for this semester. And then if they were suspended or at any point in the year, I'm going to leave it up to principal or, Mrs. Duval or myself to restore in certain situations, depending on the severity of the infraction. So the way that they stay qualified is by, they stay qualified is by meeting citizenship, the citizenship policy that's in the handbook. That's going to be and then obviously they also qualify by being involved in an extracurricular in some way that performs or competes. And we're still working on the process of getting that nailed down, exactly what that's going to be, so we can get that communicated. Those are going to be the 2 ways. And they obviously, after you've done the ECA, you're in. After that, it's a matter of maintaining your citizenship. And, there's a little other, there are other motives to this. When we dropped our final exam exemption policy, and we largely did that because of COVID, very difficult to manage that. The state even came out and said that they didn't recommend having any incentive programs that had anything to do with attendance. Our attendance rate, certainly in certain student populations, has suffered. It's just makes, it's just, there isn't as much penalty with respect to losing your exemption from a final exam to miss. So this may help that in some way as well. So there is some other benefit potentially. We'll have to see how it plays out.
Well, would there be some effort put, I would imagine there'll be, with that being in the spring, there's always something going on. Will there be some effort to reschedule those activities if we can? So
we've already worked the schedule, so there aren't any events on those evenings. Now, we are going to see some things. I believe we've got a boys track sectional or conference meet on that Thursday before. It's always possible that one could get rain, and then you're competing on Friday. So those kids, we'd have to admit them late on Friday. As far as I know, there's no Saturday. If baseball wanted to practice, we're obviously going to allow that to happen and then allow those kids to come up separately. So we'll have to work around some practices, but right now, the way it looks in the schedule, contests have been worked around. That's a good question, Jake. because that's a concern at that time of the year. It's just, there's a lot going on all at the same time. To get it in is tough. Yeah. I could comment again on transportation when we're looking at maybe using, and I haven't talked to Sonia or Mrs. Walden about this, but it would be something where we would look to get buses around 12:30, but they would be back in time for their afternoon route. It would be the goal, but I still need to talk about details on that.
We did talk about it already, and it looks like we may need a little earlier, but we think it'll be.
We'll work that.
Yeah. Won't be a big-
And how many students are we thinking?
The target is 150 students. And as far as how we're going to arrive at that and cap that, it would probably be based upon students who have submitted their permission slip by a certain date that we will establish. And we cap it at the 150, understanding we actually have a little bit of wiggle room north of 150, but right now 150 seems to be a happy number for us, understanding we might have a little bit more built in. And then if students fall off, and there'd be others that would have the opportunity to make based on that.
Any thoughts on any students that you might have enroll like yet this semester that may not have an opportunity to kind of meet criteria or something, like any kind of thoughts?
No thoughts right now, but it's certainly something we'll figure that out. It's a good question. We would want any student that would normally be eligible to be able to do this. And we may go look back at maybe what they were doing previously at their previous school,
Right.
To see kind of what their level of involvement is and count that toward their eligibility.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely thinking outside of the box.
Yeah, we're like I said, this is kind of stuff that make an administrator a little nervous, but some of this is paid off. Our kids, we ask a lot of our kids. We really do, and I think sometimes doing a lot for them, I think is the right thing to do.
I think it's a great idea.
I think it's a great step. I think it's the comment you made earlier about the kids getting along and being, I don't know what I'd call it, more like a family or whatever. I think that's really improved. I won't say improved, but I think it's been outstanding the last year or so, especially.
I appreciate you saying that. We're not perfect. We obviously have our issues. Talk about family. Even families have their issues. But I think that's the culture and climate that certainly I'm interested in creating, that would pull students to come here and be a part of it.
Carson is going to run the activities and
Yes,
stuff
they
like
will
that.
have, with respect to, you're going to get a mixed bag. This is no different than trying to run a graduation about a week after that. You're going to get a mixed bag here. We could get a rain out. It could be cold. It could be beautiful. We don't know. They're equipped there with their facility to accommodate us. They do have people that run their specific activities that they run, with even including lifeguards if there was swimming or kayaking that we would be doing. Still going to arrive at exactly what that menu looks like, but yes, their people will be there to run things, and then we can also run our things that they provide, those type of things.
Any idea what Gaga is?
I have no idea.
It's some
I
kind
do.
of Gaga thing.
Yeah.
What is Gaga?
It's crazy fun for those kids. It's you're in a pit. We'll call
I've
it the
never done
Gaga
this.
pit. And you have a ball, and it's a little bit like dodgeball, where you're trying to, you're kind of bouncing the ball, and there's all these rules these kids do. They do it at Pfizer all the time.
South Terrace has one on their playground.
Do it.
Is that what New Army has?
In Murphy Park, it's a Gaga pit.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
That's
guys
an
can dodge
Eagle
the ball
Scout
with your
project.
feet.
Yeah, Katie
Or
does
your
that.
feet.
Yes,
Yeah,
when an
yeah.
Eagle Scout
I
project.
thought maybe she was performing. I was gonna
No,
volunteer.
she's not going to perform. I won't. Understanding.
We can get Lady Gaga.
I'm in.
You can get it.
I was not thinking about volunteering, but now.
Yeah.
No, I would probably you get your 150 quota real quick.
Yeah, probably could. Like I said, we could be north of 150. I don't exactly know what the cap is. It's a little less than 200, but we need to start with that 150, I think, to make it manageable in terms of planning.
And we don't need any action.
It's
It's
part of the
separate,
consent.
it's just part of the consent.
Unless you want to pull it out.
No, we're good. All right, well, thanks, Sean. That was
Thank you.
very enlightening. We appreciate all the work that's gone into that.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion by Mr. Oakley and seconded by Mr. Will to approve the consent items, claim docket.
Mrs. Will.
Mrs. Will, sorry, that was right. Thank you. Mr. Man, you threw me off now.
I saw Andy's face.
So we have a motion by Mr. Oakley and seconded by Mrs. Will to approve the minutes, claim docket, consent items. Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The motion carries. New business.
First up this evening, we have for consideration a change in the 2021-2022 calendar for our professional development day in February, actually Thursday, February the 10th. I believe I shared with you a few months ago that the Department of Education has changed the requirements for instructional times. And they mainly came out and said that a lot of these early dismissal days, that they were not meeting the required instructional time for that day. And so you couldn't count that as an attendance day. And so we are recommending changing for consideration this evening, changing the Thursday, February 10th from an early dismissal to a full e-learning day due to the changes of Indiana Department of Educational instructional time requirements. And then also this will allow us to finish up our our language art curriculum mapping as well that day. So, so we're bringing forward that this evening for your consideration.
Entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we approve the change in the calendar.
Second.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mr. Schmidt, seconded by Mr. Colley to approve the changes in the calendar as presented by Mr. Galvin. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies. Next up this evening, we have for consideration the bid recommendation for the North Posey Junior High office rooftop unit replacement project. Based upon the bids, the Stefano Group is recommending DeGraw-Kemple at an amount of $47,795. This will be paid from ESSER 3 funds. If you remember the ESSER funds, the ESSER 3 funds allows us to improve the air qualities within the buildings. And so we're going to be going through and you're going to see some of these things tonight as we work through this. But this is a unit that we've been having some issues with, just need to be replaced. And so this, really quite honestly, it was a great opportunity for us to use the ESSER funds and to save us some money in the operations bucket, as well as save us on bonding funds that come up later on down the road. So DeGraw-Kemple does a lot of our work already, and fortunately they came in with that base bid and stuff. So we bring forward that recommendation, and this will actually be done this summer. So we're going to move forward with this summer. So because of the supply chain issues, you have to get it ordered now.
Yep. So maybe too late.
Yeah, it may be too late. So we bring that forward this evening for your consideration.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept DeGraw-Kemple's proposal.
Second.
I'll second that.
So motion by Mr. Oakley and seconded by Mr. Schmidt to approve the replacement project as presented by Mr. Galvin. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Next up this evening, I'm requesting permission to seek bids for the North Posey High School chiller replacement. This is the York unit. We've had several issues, probably recently or past several years. It's kind of needed to be replaced. I think Danny's actually said it was talked about during the last bond and just ended up getting cut out. But it's one of those that we've sweated literally every year. Is it going to start back up? Is it going to continue running throughout the year? The hot summer. So once again, the ESSER funds, this is $319,000 budget, estimated budget for this one. And we are planning to use ESSER funds to cover the cost of this. Like I said, this is the main unit at the high school. So this is just a request to send out bids or request bids for the replacement of that.
Entertain. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, to give permission to seek bids for the North Posey High School chiller replacement.
Second.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Mrs. Will and seconded by Mr. Colley to approve seeking bids for the high school chiller replacement as presented by Mr. Galvin. Any comments or questions?
So this is going back in between the same spot, in between the ag and the, okay.
I think so. Actually, it may be a
Because-
smaller.
Yeah, it may reduce footprint, but, because I know we had talked about a little bit about repurposing that area too in the past.
Talk about putting a greenhouse in.
No.
No.
I don't remember what it was. I thought it might have been expansion of the basketball or the PE locker rooms there. But I can't remember.
Well, we did talk about in that green space, but I think there was something underneath there that prevents that, isn't it? You're talking about that green space between the gym and the hallway.
Yeah, the ag hallway, science and, yeah, I don't remember what else. There was something else there.
Yeah,
We might need to
Is there a
talk to
utility tunnel that
Steph.
runs underneath there?
I know there is on the other side that goes from the high school to the junior high.
I was thinking of.
Goes back underneath that blacktop there. So but I can check with Danny and see if there's something there.
And it may have been that because we were putting in the wrestling and the weight room, all that project back there, and we were looking at that area. So it may have been on that side.
Because you know what has been suggested to me was I guess there was some discussion of putting a greenhouse there in that
Okay.
area. So that's been thrown out to me.
Mm-hmm.
Where will we sit on those ESSER funds after these two projects?
We got that tonight.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, no, and all we're doing is asking to seek bids, so.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Any other comments, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
Next up this evening, we're just hitting all this HVAC stuff and boilers. The North Posey Junior High boiler replacement, once again, this is just permission to seek bids. Estimated budget's $85,000. This would be paid out of operations fund. So we cannot, it's the air quality. So the HVAC we can do, but on this, the boiler, we would have to be taking out of operations fund. We are currently at one boiler at the North Posey Junior High, so it's kind of once again another situation that we, if we want to go down there, we're kind of shutting the building down. So we really want to get this replaced and it would definitely be an improvement in our energy cost as well. So once again, this is just permission to seek bids.
Entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we seek bids for replacing the junior high boilers.
Second.
A second.
So a motion by Mr. Collins, seconded by Mr. Oakley to approve seeking bids for the North Posey Junior High boiler replacement as presented by Mr. Galvin. Anybody have comments or questions? So what
So
would,
when is the date here? The opening is scheduled for? You know that?
I'm not sure on that one. I'll let you guys know. So
what would we anticipate like a life expectancy to be of a boiler like this?
that's a good question. I mean, I've seen some, what's it, Greg? 40, 50
40,
years.
50 years is a lot of,
Yeah.
but I don't know about the new.
I mean, I know that when we replace boilers, the footprint's much smaller. I mean, we're
Right.
replacing boilers that are probably the size of this table going down to maybe a fourth of this size of this table.
And we're replacing, we're not repairing,
We're
right? So
replacing
this
this. This is a brand new boiler.
has this been done before?
Not on this one. We have other ones.
We've replaced them at North Elementary and I'm sure at
I know
high
a
school
couple
too.
of the high schools,
Yeah.
not all of them are replaced. This is the junior high, and I think, I'm not sure if one has already been replaced and the second one. not.
All right, any other comments, questions?
And also, they're much more fuel efficient as well.
Yeah.
So you're improving the efficiency of the units.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The motion carries.
Next up, we have the 2022. Last year, if you remember correctly, we put out a bid for lawn maintenance contract. And that was just a 1 year. Jason Murphy's company has done it. They've done a great job for us this year. I was very pleased with how well the facilities looked and everything. We are going to repost those bids again this year, see if we can get some additional companies and stuff like that in. But we're going to are ready to send that back out again. So I'm just asking permission to send those back out. What we usually try to do, just on bid opening and scheduled for, we'll probably try to get those scheduled because by February at least, because we may start mowing grass around here middle of March. So
Or shoveling snow.
that's true. We could be shoveling
Same
snow.
week.
Same way, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we seek bids for the lawn maintenance contract.
A second.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Schmidt, seconded by Mrs. Will to approve permission to seek bids for the lawn maintenance contract. Any comments or questions?
How will that be advertised?
So we'll put that in the newspaper. We'll also push out through social media again. I've actually already started having, I had somebody contact me through just our corporation email a few days ago. So I think it's something, I know Vince, you and I talked about this last year. I think it wasn't something that's been done in the past, but I think as it becomes part of our normal working process, I think people will be looking for it and stuff. So yeah. But I will tell you, Eric and Jason have done a great job and with their connections with North Posey, and I think it's definitely been.
I was really impressed at what they did. They were always out here mowing, always.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The motion carries.
Next up this evening, you have for consideration a resolution terminating the joint agreement for special education between the Metropolitan School District of Mount Vernon and the Metropolitan School District of North Posey, effective June 30th, 2022. MSD of Mount Vernon passed their resolution during their December 20th, 2021 board meeting. I talked to Lauren Evans after that meeting and just asked if we needed to pass a resolution. He said based upon the agreement, he didn't think we did, but I went ahead and wrote up a resolution just so that, number one, we have it in our minutes. Sometimes the Department of Education asks for, the resolutions from both districts to be sent to them. So I thought, let's just go ahead and get it done to make sure we've got it done. So, so you have a resolution in your or actually it was at your seat this evening. Mainly just states, whereas the Metropolitan School District of North Posey County School Board is the governing board of the Metropolitan School District of North Posey County and Posey County, Indiana. And whereas the Metropolitan School District of North Posey County, Metropolitan School District of Mount Vernon, and the Consolidated School Town of New Harmony and Harmony Township each ratified a joint agreement for special education services on October 8th, 1991 to provide special education services to the students of Posey County. And whereas the Metropolitan School District of North Posey County and the Consolidated School Town of New Harmony and Harmony Township consolidated into the Metropolitan School District of North Posey County, creating the agreement just between the Metropolitan School District of North Posey County and the Metropolitan School District of Mount Vernon. Whereas Section 5 of the joint agreement requires that the agreement remain in effect from school year to school year unless terminated by one of the participating school boards by written notice to the others, given not later than April 1st, prior to commencement of the next school year. And whereas the Metropolitan School District of Mount Vernon School Board has adopted a resolution dated December 20th, 2021, thereby notifying the Metropolitan School District of North Posey County their wishes to terminate the joint agreement at the end of the 2021-2022, effective June 30th, 2022. Therefore, be it resolved that the Metropolitan School District of North Posey County Board of Trustees accepts the termination of the joint agreement effective June 30th, 2022. And be it further resolved that the Metropolitan School District of North Posey County will cooperate fully with the Metropolitan School District of Mount Vernon
and the Indiana Department of Education to accomplish the dissolution of the Posey County Special Services, including special education grants and any other joint services in a timely manner. This resolution was duly made, seconded, and adopted this 10th day of January 2022. There's a place for the president and the secretary to sign.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the resolution.
Second.
I'll second.
So a motion by Mr. Schmidt, seconded by Mrs. Will to approve the resolution as presented by Mr. Galvin. Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
We have been receiving some applicants for the director's position, so we're excited that we're getting some applicants and hope to have someone for you for the February board meeting. So,
All right, Mrs. Walden, you're up.
So I think it's in the bottom of your stack there. We had a request come to us from 4-H, requesting support with transportation for the campers to go to camp this summer. Basically, they just want to use one of our buses. They have, one of our bus drivers has agreed to drive them, and they want to use one of our buses. So looked at the state guidelines, the Indiana code on what is allowed and not allowed for school buses and our use policy. And they do allow school boards to approve a policy that would allow nonprofits the use of our school buses. So I've developed that. I really just wanted to give you guys a first read opportunity and to offer comments, or if you would prefer, you can have rental, agreements in this. Right now, the way I've written it up is mainly that we would not ask for any compensation financially, but the organization is requesting to use it would cover the full cost of the use. So they would, pay for the fuel, they'd pay for the driver. It would need to be a yellow card approved driver to drive our buses. They would have their own proof of financial responsibility as part of their application to use the bus, and they would be required, if any financial needs happen during, the trip or whatever, they would be responsible for that. So no cost to us, but also no, we're not asking for like a rental free fee or anything like that, which you certainly could if you wanted to. So really not asking for necessarily for a motion tonight, but just more some feedback and what else you might want to see if you even are interested in entertaining a policy like this.
So what kind of mileage distance are we talking?
The state requirements do not put a limitation on this as far as the code, so we can certainly put a limitation in the policy if you want. What 4-H is asking, and the only ask I have on the table right now, is that they are traveling to their camp, which is not that far away, I don't think. I don't remember where it is. But it's basically from Evansville to their 4-H camp. One day at the beginning of the week, and at the end of the week going back and picking them up and bringing them back to Evansville.
And then each of these requests would be approved by the board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, once we had a policy in place, then anytime someone was asking for use, we would bring that request.
So is this an Evansville 4-H group?
Yeah.
Posey County and Vanderburgh County 4-H are kind of putting their forces together to go to this camp together. I'll find that email.
we had in previous superintendent's position, Special Olympics would sometimes make a request, they were going to something in Indianapolis or something like that, and they would need a bus to take their kids down there. And because of the handicap accessibility of our buses and stuff, that was a request that we honored and things. And, you could very easily put in there, just to kind of control it a little bit more, that, we would want it to be our kids, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And Evansville can't come in and say, well, we want to use one of your buses for something in Evansville or something like that. So that's something we could possibly put in there. So
Yeah,
that would
I mean,
impact it.
I would just want to make sure that we weren't sending somebody to Washington DC or Florida in a bus, or you
It
know,
says you can't, oh, well, sorry, this thing says trips not involve more than 200 miles out of the state.
That's for the,
Yeah, that was just the
Group
governing
sponsor.
stuff, not the
Yeah.
policy.
that
Yeah.
doesn't, I mean, that's
So
not
we
written
can
in
put
ours.
stuff like that in there.
yeah, I wanted to kind of give you some language in there that of what,
And I mean, I know, you know, and you make a good point, because what you wouldn't want to do is say, you have to be cautious, because if they say, oh, well, you've got 2 kids from North Posey on a bus of 28, well, that's not the intent either.
Right, right.
So,
But if each of the requests come to the board, we have a opportunity to
Mhm.
deny them.
yeah, I mean, we definitely want to be good citizens and help out when we can.
Sometimes it's just a sense anymore where, you know, in this community, you guys, you know, you have your largest facilities, you have the best transportation fleet for this community, you know what I mean? So,
Mhm.
or for at least the northern part of the county. So it definitely is an opportunity for us to be good stewards and good community partners as well.
Are the buses insured for this now? If we
So that's where there's the proof of financial responsibility is they would have to prove, they would have to provide us with a proof of insurance. So,
that would cover.
this camp specifically is to Santa Claus, Indiana, so.
So we're not talking
Mm-mm.
greatly.
And we could even put in the policy in-state only. You know, if you wanted that in the policy.
I mean, I'm, to the fact that you get to approve them.
Yeah.
As a one-off, I just would, lots of times, you know, you get trapped into those, well, you did it, you set a precedent, right? And so
Yeah.
then everybody's like, well, we did it here, so now we've got to do it there.
One thing, if I can chime in, one thing I note with the language of the policy or the statute authorizing these policies says the transportation has to originate within the geographical limits of the school corporation. So if you're worried about Vandenberg or somebody coming in, they'd have to move whoever's using it, come out and actually start the trip within the North Posey School District. So there's kind of a natural limit in terms of the statute.
I hate to see us eliminate out of state because of where we're situated
Yeah,
down
we're
here.
pretty close,
Too.
yeah.
You know, that is,
Indianapolis is further than
Three-fourths of our-
Henderson.
Yeah.
you know, it did knock out 3/4 of our possible way to go.
well, I think that, you know, I think kind of what Jeff was talking about, you hate to limit yourself with a policy that you never know what's going to happen down the road. You know, somebody might come in that's a very worthwhile. We definitely want our kids to have that experience, and it's, you know, a Washington DC or something. It's definitely something that, well, wow, our kids would really benefit by going to this. So I don't think you want to lock yourself in. As long as you guys are approving it, you know, it's going to be a situation of her and I, or whoever's sitting in our seats is going to look at it first and go, yeah, let's take this to the board, or we're going to bring it to the board, but we're not going to recommend doing it either, you know, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely don't think we want to haul the Ku Klux Klan to any events or anything like that, you know, so.
Yeah, you definitely want to be able to pick or be able to have final say on what you
Correct.
approve, and what you don't approve.
Yeah.
So second reading next.
Yep, I'll
Next
bring it
board
back
meeting.
next month.
Okay, are there other school districts that have similar policies, or were you?
I did not find any policies out there. I did reach out to Michael LaRocco, who's the director of transportation for the state, and he's the one that sent me the code, and he said plenty of schools do this, but I couldn't find any of the actual policies. So I just worded it, and you'll see kind of what I attached, the code behind it. I just used as much of the wording of the code that way and tried to make it as simple as possible. That way you had the opportunity to look at each one individually, but generally that we can say yes because we have a policy that says we can.
And like I said, we didn't have a policy, but yeah, it always came to the board for the Special Olympics to use it. The board had to approve it on an annual basis. So that was just the practice they had done up there. But I like the policy better.
You'll know to have a policy.
Well, at least it provides some guidelines to
It
operate
does.
within. right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So, all right, personnel? Nothing?
You have there, yeah, some items to be considered. Oh, personnel, nothing, my fault. I was thinking professional leave.
Yeah, professional leave. motion to present, or we just want to take a motion? All right, I'll entertain a motion for the professional leave request as presented in your packet. How's that?
I'll make a motion that we approve the professional leave request as noted.
Second?
I'll second it.
There's a motion by Mr. Schmidt, seconded by Mr. Colley to approve the professional leave request. Any comments or questions?
I do want to point out that one of those is the SIEC math textbook fair. We are adopting math textbooks this year, and I'm sure that you're watching what's happening in the state legislators. Textbook adoption is becoming a big topic of discussion, a big issue. So they're wanting to make sure that there's a lot of public input. So we will be making sure that those, the 2 or 3 companies that we are considering are put in each of the schools for public to come in and take a look at that and view those documents and stuff. So I just kind of want to put that out there.
Any other comments, questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Reports.
So first up this evening, you have the superintendent's report or state of the schools. Just kind of want to go through this. I set it next to each of your seats there. And this is something legally that's required on an annual basis during the January school board meeting. The first, I think 6 or 7 slides are mainly directly from what's called DUAB. This is the financial indicators for each school district across the state of Indiana. First one is just looking at your average daily membership, and as you can kind of see, we bounce up a little bit, and we bounce down a little bit. So, but overall, we've remained pretty well consistent. As we've talked several times, as long as we stay around that 14,000 number, then 1,400. Yeah, we'd love to have 14,000. Around the 1,400 number, then we
Wouldn't know what to do.
I know we wouldn't know what to do with that. So we'd be having different conversations this evening. So, but that kind of helps us to mainly keep our budget and continue to move forward and stuff. So we'll look more at specifics. As you can see, this is about a year behind usually. So we'll look at current statistics here in just a moment. The next slide is looking at your fund balances. I just point out kind of the blue-gray line there coming down. That's the general fund. That was then replaced by the education fund in 2019, which kind of goes over to like a teal-green color. So you can kind of see that we've dropped, but in 18, 19, and 20, we've kind of remained consistent with that education fund. So it even looks like it's ticked up a little bit there. Your capital projects fund, your transportation fund, all those kind of went in together to the operations funds. That's kind of down there with that gray color and mixed in and stuff. And as I've shared quite often, that's probably the fund I'm most concerned about. I'm used to that being at least over $1 million. We've kind of stayed around the 500,000, but we're slowly kind of building them back up, and you'll kind of see that as we kind of get further down, talking more about our specifics. The next one is just kind of looking at annual deficit and surplus. And in the past 2019 as well as 2020, we did experience a surplus. In other words, our revenue was more than our expenditures coming. Our revenue coming in was more than our expenditures going out. So it was definitely a good situation there where we'd like to see that. Our fund balances as a percent of expenditures is the next one. And you can see that that's been pretty consistent. We've been going up a little bit to about 28.3% as in 2020. The next one is just kind of dealing with revenue by type. This graph always kind of confuses me a little bit because they just have it kind of built on top of each other, of course. Federal revenue is always our highest, next followed by state, other local revenues, then green kind of our debt revenue, and then of course we have the local tax revenue. So federal revenue can be Title I, special education, Title II, all those different title grants that we have. Of course, state revenue is our basic grant that we mainly get in on a monthly basis. So going to the next one is really talking more about specifics currently. So our enrollment, September the 15th, which was our first count day, was 1421. When we came back from Christmas, I asked Jamie to give me an update number. We're about 1419. So we want to kind of stay right there. We don't want to lose any money. So if we can bounce up a little bit, that'd even be better. In fact, I think the next day after we got this number, I heard that a kid came in. So we're hopefully at 1420.
And we have 2 more coming this week.
And we got 2 more coming this week. So if we can even be above 1421, that's a good thing too. So this year, both count days are for money. So usually what happens is that our state reimbursement check, for lack of better words, came in November and December. So that bounced up a little bit for that new enrollment. They kind of caught us up. And then the February count, usually it's in June and July that they kind of catch us up for that or take money away and stuff. So free and reduced lunch count, 28.2. That's pretty well remained consistent with where we were last year. Special education population dropped a little bit, not much, so about 18.2. English language learners is 0.1%. Our number of certified staff is about 112. And then there as well, this would have been the previous year. We had 86% of our staff scored highly effective and 14% of our staff scored effective. We did not have anybody on needs improvement or ineffective. Number of classified staff is about 125. Our current financial health, and just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about this because, our education fund and our operations fund actually finished a little bit higher than we were last year, which is always a good thing. To see that we're kind of building that back in, but we were about 1.624 thousand 505.19. The operations fund was at 500,211.86. The rainy day fund balance did drop. We started the year about 1.5. And we dropped to about 1.2 for 452.85. The reason why that happened is, of course, we had the payouts with the people who were retiring. That was about 250,000. And then also we've been underfunding our self-funded insurance, and so that's something that and the reason why we've been doing that is because if we passed on that entire cost to our employees, it'd be a big jump. So we've been trying to kind of minimize that and kind of go with the middle ground. And so sometimes at different times throughout the year, we've had to transfer some money over from rainy day to that self-insurance fund. If the money's come up, then what we've done is transfer that money back. So that we just kind of want to make sure that there's enough money in there to cover for that. So per pupil expenditures has remained fairly consistent. You can kind of see we bumped up a little bit there from 8,535 to 8,593. Indiana's average is $9,193.68. But you got to throw your Fishers and Caramels in there to kind of get up there. 2021 budget, your assessed values have remained fairly level. Not really done a lot. Keep in mind that we've been, the past few years has been in that kind of farm ground reassessment. And of course, because the majority of our property is in, or a majority of our district is farm, has definitely impacted us here in the district. So I think this is either last year was last year or this year is the last year of that kind of that reassessment for farm properties. So hopefully that will level off some and possibly begin to go up a little bit. Our rates, 2021, our rate was 0.9273. This year is 0.9337. Keep in mind that I said this last year that when you take your full budget, your full levy amount for your operations budget, your rate's going to tick up a little bit. Okay, so we're doing legally what we can do underneath state legislation, but just be aware that that rate ticks up a little bit, even though you as a board is really not increasing property taxes or anything. We're just taking the full amount. It's kind of one of those balancing situations. If you don't take the full rate amount, then you don't get all your money. You kind of lose that money. So just kind of be aware of that as we go forward and stuff. Current financial health, continuing, levy for 2021 was $4,417,689. For 2022, it was $4,490,698. Difference about $73,000 up. So nothing really big on that aspect. Debt there, you have our 3 bonds and the payoff dates for those 3. Of course, the 2020-10 bond is coming off in 2024, which is the reason why we're beginning that discussion now. I kind of shared with you in your newsletter this past week that the administrators, as well as custodians, and we've been doing walkthroughs of the buildings. We've kind of developed our priority list. We want to have a working session to kind of review those with you and see what other kinds of things that we need to add. And then as well, we want to make sure that the public is aware of what projects we're looking at and why are we looking at those projects. One of the key things that I think is going to help with our operations budget going forward is this general energy savings contract. This is our July will be our payoff date. Annual payments about $308,000. So that will be something that will be in operations going forward, and that will be a sizable chunk of money really for us. So so on an annual basis, $308,000 will be sitting in there. This was something that districts did way back when companies came in, they went back and retrofitted your lights and things. Corporations now kind of look back at it and go, well, did we really get a good deal on that? It's really better nowadays just to put a line item into your budget to say, hey, we're going to spend $50,000 this year. We're going to invite, an electrical company to come in and just switch out to LEDs. I mean, that's really a better use of your money more so going forward. Michelle's going to talk to you a little bit about the ESSER funding, just to kind of bring you up to date on that. And I think she's got a handout there for you as well.
Yeah, you should have it in your packet. And she's got it up on the screen as well. So I went through and we wanted to have something that we could also share on our website as well, because the ESSER funds are obviously public federal dollars that people kind of question. It's a lot of money. What are we doing with it? And kind of, wanting to make sure that we're really transparent with those funds. I did put a little bit of background information there for you as well. It was a lot all at once. And so just kind of have that at your fingertips if you need it to know what were the criteria or rules around each of the CARES 1, CARES 2, which was ESSER 1, ESSER 2, and then the third one, ESSER 3, was actually part of a different legislative agreement. And so ESSER 1, we've almost completely expended it. We were awarded $105,581.31, and we have just under $2,000 left to expend on that. We have until September 2022 to expend that, but we will have that probably spent by the end of the school year. We have a little bit of more professional development that can be applied to that. So that one was mainly used for reduction in class sizes, mainly at South Terrace with 2 additional teachers at South Terrace. And then you had substitutes, that was teacher substitutes, nurse substitutes, bus driver substitutes, when we were in the height of COVID, and then we had some professional learning in that one. And then your ESSER 2, you can see we were awarded $383,363.84, and we still have a large portion of that, the $269,168.69 left to still expend on that one. Currently, what we have spent has really kind of been evenly around instructional supplies, mental health training and support, and your improvement of administrative processes. That's our new frontline system that we're using to automate the hiring process, all of our forms that people are submitting. It's been a lot for Amy to set up, but it is really helping us streamline processes, be less no touch, and improve those processes. And then the maintenance or improvement to buildings has been a little portion of that. So you can see our plan for the rest of those funds continues to add instructional supplies, continue our mental health supports for those social workers in the building, continue training in the mental health areas, and then continue maintenance and improvement in the buildings.
So on the continued maintenance and improvement of the buildings, just with that grant there, we purchased all brand new vacuum cleaners for all the buildings. We also purchased some equipment that will actually go in and sanitize bathrooms and stuff. So we've tried to, once again, what we try to do is use these for one-time expenses to actually help us in our own funds, in our operations and education fund, to build those funds up to where, once this money runs out, okay, what kinds of things can we do?
So we'll have about 470,000 left in the ESSER 3 after the bids come in, if they come in where we expect them to come in.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, you can see ESSER 3, currently, we've only spent 22,000 of that one. And this one, ESSER 3 specifically, has that additional requirement that 20% of the award has to go towards learning loss recovery. And so we'll be tracking that and making sure we're aligned with that. We are using some of that money to advance that those curriculum mapping goals, which helps all of our teachers understand how to differentiate better, using our formative assessments in such a way that identifies where the students are in their learning paths, and then making sure that they have what they need in each lesson to advance what they need. And so we do have to keep an eye on that one, and I'll make sure that as we do these other reports, we remind that had to be 20% of that had to be set aside for that learning loss. And then.
So that was roughly like 200 something thousand.
And I wrote 17, but that doesn't left maybe because we've already done 7. That math doesn't match. I think there's a mistake there. 20%. I think that's pretty enough.
That's maybe of what's been expended. So that pie chart probably what's been expended, because it says we've expended.
Yeah, 172 is.
Yeah.
I'll get that corrected.
So a couple of the things that we've done, just to remind you, elementary counselor, Ashley Lingfelter has been added in as our elementary counselor, and she goes between the two buildings, so that's something we've added in. We've also, we've done a lot of work with Youth First over the years. So mainly we added another social worker, and we didn't hire that person. We just added another one through their contract and stuff. That's something that we've done with this. And you probably heard even this evening on the nightly news when I was watching before I came back, they were talking about mental health is becoming a huge issue with kids because of the socialization that they're missing out on by not being in school. I'm hearing kids who I was talking, I don't remember who I was talking to a few days ago, that said that their band program was discontinued this year due to COVID, and the kid just really mentally broke down because that was her connection to school, was the band program. So we're experiencing a lot of mental issues, those kinds of things. But so just kind of wanted to make you aware of some things that we've used. The other thing too that wasn't in here, and it's been something that we kind of were aware of, was the FFC. That's right. FFC has given us a grant. This actually, it was 2 different grants, and Jake applied for those grants. We were able to get those, and they covered the cost of FCC. Thank you. To totally, completely replace all of our Chromebooks in the district. That was a huge savings to us as a district. Probably about
270,000 is what I have on.
Yeah.
For 30.
Yeah. So, but I think total wise, it was probably over about $600,000 for the district. So we had originally budgeted some money in ESSER, but when that came available, I told Jake, let's see if we can capture that money. We did. So then we're able to re-budget the money in the ESSER towards other things. So we really tried to leverage this money that's come from the federal government as much as possible to try to save us some money, within our own budget. So it's definitely benefited us. The other thing too that I want to point out, because this question came up from an employee over the weekend to Amy, is that keep in mind, last year, EVSE came out very quickly and said, well, we're going to pay a stipend to all of our employees from the ESSER funds. If you remember correctly, about a week later, the Department of Local Government Finance came out and said, no, you can't do that. If you're going to do that, then you have to have timesheets showing that people put in additional time. And I mean, there was just going to be a bunch of issues with that and stuff. So what we try to do is use these funds for legally what we could use to free up money in our education fund and operations fund. And so that's what we've tried to do this year, to where we could pay legally through our funds to take care of these people. And so, like, for example, we gave pay raises this year. At Christmas time, we also gave those, actually, I think they're getting ready to go out, or already went out, classified staff, the stipends as well equal to what the teachers received and stuff. So that's kind of how we handled it. But people are wondering about the COVID stipend. We legally really could not do that, even though UBSC and I think Warwick also did that. So just kind of making you aware of that. So kind of going forward, some challenges and opportunities for us. Of course, like we said, it's just COVID-19. It's still kind of a moving target. We really don't know where that's going to land at as we move forward. And the sustainability of ESSER-funded projects. Like we said, elementary counselor. How do we sustain that as we move out of the ESSER funding as that dries up? How do we bring that person into the education fund and kind of continue to support that person? And those are things that we're working on. Enrollment continues. We want to stay at that 1,400. We would even like to go higher than that and possibly even get to 14,000 someday. So, but anyway, you guys would love it if we got there, wouldn't you? So. The other thing is, I think as well, is just qualified candidates. This is becoming a bigger issue, is finding those qualified candidates out there for teachers. And so, just looking at that, trying to attract those individuals, and that kind of comes to that next level, that salary scheduling consistencies, making sure that people are where they're supposed to be on the salary schedule. We still have some people that are behind where they should be. So trying to fix some of those inconsistencies and get them to where they should be on the salary schedule. Another big issue is the rising cost of benefits. Like I said, that insurance cost continues to go up, health insurance cost continues to go up. How do we balance that out? We've questioned quite often is, does the health clinic save us money, or is it costing us money? And are people using it enough to really show that it's saving us some money and stuff? And then the ongoing transfers to the operations fund, they're limiting us to 15%. They're continuing to put things in place. We're having to show how much is going towards compensation. So those kinds of things are becoming more and more difficult on that, trying to create more pressure on us to not transfer even less than 15%. And then, like Michelle and I have both talked, just continuing to look for those grant opportunities to support instructional programming. What other money is out there and is available to us that we can definitely get. On the operations side, and actually probably somewhat in the education fund too, is just looking at the salary schedule for our classified employees. We want to be competitive. We want our people making more than what they would make working at Wendy's or McDonald's or someplace like that. So how do we increase our salary schedule while at the same time balancing the resources that we have? Once again, just qualified applicants. It's difficult. We have custodians that are probably going to be retiring this year. Can we find quality people to replace them? And even when I say quality people, I'm even saying a work ethic nowadays. You can't even find people who have good work ethics. So it's not so much that we can train people, it's just finding that person who's going to be able to put the time and effort into it. Once again, rising cost of benefits. As we've talked, we've done a great job of taking care of facilities, but we understand that they're aging facilities. So how do we continue to make sure that they're well taken care of and stuff? As always, the electrical and natural gas expenses, I would also throw in there, just a challenge for us is just our bus transportation and the fuel for our bus transportation. And drivers. Yeah, I was going to say that on qualified applicants as well. Declining or neutral assessed valuation, that's definitely going to be something that as we go forward and we talk to our financial people, that's going to impact us and what is our borrowing power as we move forward to do some of the projects and stuff. Our opportunities, of course, we're continuing to hone in on what our facilities audit is going to be, and being able to provide that list of priorities that may not necessarily be in the 2024 bond, but if we can look at some of those projects and say, can we afford this out of operations, and be able to take care of those things and have a very specific and efficient plan to address that. The school bus lease, we approved that. Just waiting for those school buses to arrive from the Pacific Ocean on those liners from China. But anyway,
They're flying them in,
I don't know. But anyway, you know, I think if I remember correctly, that was around a $200,000 savings by going through the lease. And so hopefully as we move forward that we'll see that play out, and maintenance costs as well. Just grant opportunities, continuing to look for those, and then continuing to be looking at consortiums to benefit from bulk purchasing and stuff. You know, I think last year it came up the possibility of kind of like we are doing with natural gas, being part of the consortium of possibly doing something with electrical. That really didn't gain a lot of traction in the state legislators or legislation, but you know, it could possibly as we move forward and stuff. So anyway, that's just kind of an update of where we are as a district currently, and I'll entertain any questions that anybody may have. All right. Just doing a great job answering all the questions.
Thorough reports.
Thorough reports. Thanks, sir. So just really quickly, reports for you this evening. I've handed off to Mrs. Walden, and she's done a much better job than I was doing on the good news report. She added in pictures for you guys. So,
That's great. I like that.
I know. So turned out great. But want to thank all the principals for sending that in. So we'll get that out on social media as well. But it's a great thing. Like I said, great things are happening.
Yeah, it's just a testament of all the great things that do happen throughout the month that we hear about, but then you forget about as you're kind of doing the
And the neat thing about it is, you know, once again, and we'll talk a little bit about COVID here in a moment, but we are trying to keep this year as normal as possible. You know, it was great being able to offer our Christmas programs again. All of our parents were able to come in and enjoy the Christmas programs. So you know, it's you know, I'm kind of looking through those, seeing the smiles on kids' faces again, enjoying the things that make school fun. So enjoyable.
It's really neat to see that you can tell there's been an effort to have our upperclassmen interact with our grade schools, and that's really cool to see. I think they both get a lot out of that.
Yeah. Okay, COVID update. We are experiencing a spike, which we planned on seeing come about. You know, as we came back from the Christmas holidays, and of course you're seeing everything nationally is definitely increasing as well. You know, I would just say right now we're, you know, mixed messages are coming out of everywhere. CDC, as far as what we are supposed to do, what we're not supposed to do. You know, in the past we've gone back to mask mandates. We're hearing with the Omicron that masks really don't do anything. They don't really help in any way, shape, or form. So we're just going to continue to look at protocols and just try to, once again, as we've said all along, look at our data to try to make decisions of what we want to try to do and stuff. We had a large group of kids go out from our elementaries. I think the daycare got hit, that a lot of our kids attended. I think there was also a lot of families getting together over the weekend and holidays and stuff. So I think some families got hit over at South Terrace as well. I think the other big issue is we're just waiting to see what's going to happen with the Supreme Court. This is a big concern as an employer for us. You know, we've not really asked our staff of who is vaccinated, who is not vaccinated, mainly because I didn't feel like it was my rights to know people's health records and things like that. But you know, as we move forward, if the Supreme Court does not rule against the vaccine mandate, then we fit into that category of being in business over 100 employees tested or choose not to get the vaccine. I can't go without 5 teachers. I don't have 5 teachers waiting in the wings to suddenly move into those positions. And at the same time, as a as we've looked at our finances tonight, I can't begin to pay the penalties as well. I do know that Indiana state legislators are looking at a bill to not hold employers accountable for those costs, I guess that we would be reimbursed possibly or something like that. So anyway, it's a big balancing act right now to kind of see what's going to happen. But originally we kind of thought that maybe schools weren't going to be involved in that, but we just recently, I think you guys saw probably, I think it may came out through me, a school board association, or maybe came out through the superintendent's association that we are included. So we'll keep you updated on that. That could change a lot of things going forward. I do know because if someone in our office is needing to be tested because they're going on a trip, I think she checked it out, was it Walmart? A kit of 10 tests was $800 or something like that. So, of course, as you've also seen on the national news, there's not enough tests out there to test people. So anyway, I am going to reach out to the clinic to kind of see if they're at all prepared. If the mandate did stick, would they be able to test? And Amy, though I can see shaking her head over there, they've said that they are not, but that is definitely going to be something I want to talk to you about and see if there's a possibility.
Have they said what test they will take? Because I know like some companies are saying they won't accept the rapid test. They'll have to be.
Well, and that's the thing. We've really not gotten any, I mean, except from what I've heard on the news, we've not received anything from anybody to really say, this is what you have to do, or this is, those kinds of things.
The current OSHA guideline goes into effect February 10th.
They keep moving that back because I think it was originally supposed to be in January.
Yeah.
But I think
Years past, even with flu absences, we've had to go virtual for a week. Do you anticipate anything like that happening?
We're at about 10%.
my
Yeah.
goal right now is unless we get into a staffing issue of where we're having teachers and we can't staff classrooms, I want to try to stay in school. I think just the perception in our community is they want our kids to be in school. So I know that, and I know
that's 10% quarantined.
Yeah, in the highest schools right now in that report, like, and not all across the board, but like in our highest situations right now. And they're all virtual learning. They all the students that are home have wanted that option and they are learning from home. So.
I know Michelle was talking about something you saw, something came out from the DOE just last week.
Yeah, they've updated their 20%. There was some guidelines before about if you had 20% absenteeism due to any illness.
I thought that's what we had done previously.
Or, major event or something like that, that you would have some sort of, if you had 20% absenteeism, you needed to report that to the state. And they've updated that guideline that if those students are at home virtual learning, they don't have to count in that number. And so, because we are offering that when they are home, we're in good shape for that part of it.
So mainly it's manipulating the data.
Yeah. A big kudos to the Posey County Health Department too, though. We have a large group of students that are planning to go on the Washington DC trip in March that do require a test before we go. And so we didn't want to get into a situation where we had students or parents, struggling to find a test before we go or, whatever. And so we are working with them and they're going to hold a couple clinics for us before that week before we go to be able to test our group. So, yes.
So we're going to meet tomorrow, administrative team, and we'll look through our protocols again just to see if there's any changes we want to do. We feel like that they've worked fairly well up to this point. We'll just kind of continue to monitor and stuff. So. One of the quick kudos as well, if no other questions on COVID, I'd like to give a great big shout out to our Posey County Highway Department last Thursday. They did a great job. I spoke to them about 11:30 on Thursday as the snow was falling and said, hey, we're looking at the weather report here. We're going to take a gamble and keep them in school. We felt like if we sent them home at 1 o'clock in the height of the storm, it probably would have been the slickest road at that point in time. And I asked them, I said, if you guys can hit it at 1 o'clock so that the roads are kind of clear for us at 3. And, I specifically asked for High School Road and as well as the intersection over by South Terrace on Steerley, and they did it. So I want to give a great big shout out to them. They did a great job. And I think driving the roads about 3:30 or so, they were in much better shape than we're at 1 o'clock. So those are always hard decisions. When you have 6 or 7 inches or ice, it's an easy call, but on those kinds of things, it's kind of like, what are we going to do? So.
One thing I did get a couple of questions about was, I think we didn't get the phone call for Friday till 8 or 8:30 at night. So the sooner we can make that decision, the better, right? Because people have to make daycare, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
So if we can make that sooner.
Sure. I think everybody else beat me on that.
There's nothing that we would have to pass regarding OSHA compliance or anything like that, because our next board meeting is not until the 14th, and if that's mandate comes into effect the 10th.
We have nothing to say about it.
You really have nothing to say about it.
So, I was just making sure we didn't have to, there was no action needed from our group.
Mainly at that point in time is we'll just have to see legally, what we have to do, and we'll proceed forward with
Do
that.
we have to publish a policy internally or something?
They have no guidelines.
They've not really provided any guidelines or any clarification
No
on
idea how
that.
they're gonna enforce it or sanction it.
I can check to see, there might be several of the federal district courts have put stays in effect to keep the law from actually taking place. So I don't know within the 7th Circuit we would fall if there's how that's affected.
I know the 5th did,
Mhm.
then I think the 6th reversed it.
Well, it's at the Supreme Court
Now
right
it's at
now.
the Supreme Court now, and I know there was some things that supposedly they're supposed to come out at any moment, really. And I know even today they said that whatever happened today, I didn't read the article, but they actually like the Supreme Court kind of sent a message that they were going to not, well, they were going to shoot it down, but they were not going to allow it to stand. So I don't know. But you never know what the Supreme Court's going to be.
I know our work issued, we went into effect today,
Mine went ahead today too.
so. Our policy got released Friday.
Ours all came out today.
And we run, usually, I will say our organizations are usually pretty good about, they will provide us with guidance and directions and stuff. And to this point, they've really not given us anything to say, hey, here's how you do this. So.
Well, hopefully OSHA doesn't come to the school first, right? They come to.
Hopefully go to
Big
Amazon.
money, the bigger companies.
Amazon,
Walmart.
Yeah.
They got bigger fish to fry, don't they? All right,
That's all we have this evening, Mr. President.
all right. Anybody else have anything for the good of the cause?
There's quite a bit starting to go on legislatively, so probably February, I guess we'll spend a little time on that.
Mm-hmm.
One big thing I know that came to committee today is requiring you guys to party affiliate. So, and post that. So, I feel like that my personal opinion is I don't think that's a good thing. I think that it brings politics into the school board. And I think up to this point in time, we've always done what was in the best interest of the kid, and that's really where it needs to stay at. So.
There's a day at the State House coming up by the SBA, first part of February. I can't remember exactly the date.
15th,
So
Tuesday.
it's on my calendar right
If
now.
you guys want to go out, just let me know, and Michelle, I can go up with you as well. I've been some nice here.
The other big one out there right now is the curriculum review.
Yeah, that would make
Mm-hmm.
onus on the teachers and the corporation overbearing.
A lot of things that we have to post and stuff like that.
We're a little ahead of the curve because we're 1-to-1, so we're kind of doing some of that stuff already,
Yeah,
but
Daily curriculum.
it's
Lesson
It's a
plan,
nightmare.
daily.
I think there's a Senate bill and a House bill that are very similar, the same language. That's kind of scary too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what they've always told us is you look at the number. If it's
like Senate Bill 1, Senate Bill 2, or something like that, that means that's their top priority issues. So those are the ones that they're pretty well going to try to drive through if they can. And keep in mind right now too, just coming back to that, we're still struggling with getting teachers. This is not a favorable atmosphere to tell teachers, well, you got to post all your lesson plans online and stuff. So that's my wife already. I know both of our wives spend a tremendous amount of time grading papers, planning, and things like that, and then to have them have to take all of that and put it online too is definitely going to be something that may force people to leave the occupation. Anyway, if any constituents ask anything on finances and stuff, please we're going to post both these presentations on the website so that people can see it. We want to be transparent as much as possible. So, so please, we're more than happy to talk to anybody.
I was gonna say, yeah, I didn't know if you're gonna post it, but you have 3 up there.
Got it. And fix my 20%.
And, yeah.
Convert that to IU math.
Sorry.
Common Core.
That new math.
That's that new math.
That new-
All right. Well, with that, our next board meeting is Monday, February 14th. If we need executive session, it'll be at 5:30. It'll be back here at central office, I assume.
I was going to ask you too, do you want to visit buildings again this year or not?
I don't know if we necessarily need to tour the buildings, but I think it's in our best interest to have the meetings at the different locations.
Yeah. So we usually start that in February. So we'll go to the high school first.
For the high school first?
Well, let me take that back. I'll check with them tomorrow and see who wants to go first.
Yeah.
because-
See if we have something at the high school that night or.
Sometimes they go, well, we'll wait. So. Yeah, we'll let you know.
All right. Sounds good. Well, that will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Seconds?
I'll second
Motion by Mrs. Will, seconded by Mr. Conley. You are adjourned. Thank you.
it. You mentioned something about road safety and stuff. Has there ever been